When Julianne Morton saw her nanny's reflection in the nursery window, she realized the woman holding her 6-month-old daughter wasn't human. The face staring back had glowing amber eyes and curved horns extending from her head. Julianne's scream caught in her throat as Delilah Spencer slowly turned around, and in that moment, Julianne knew with absolute certainty she'd invited something otherworldly into her home to care for her baby, and it was too late to run. Before we continue with this true story that happened in Atlanta, Georgia, please hit that subscribe button. Your support means everything. Now, let's begin. Julianne Morton was 33 years old and living in the Buckhead neighborhood of Atlanta when her miracle baby, Lily, was born in March 2018. She and her husband Evan had spent 6 years and over $40,000 on fertility treatments before finally becoming pregnant. But 6 weeks into maternity leave, reality crashed down. Julianne owned a successful digital marketing firm, and Evan worked 70-hour weeks as a senior attorney downtown. They needed help desperately. That's when Delilah Spencer answered their posting. She arrived for the interview on a Tuesday afternoon in late April, and Julianne remembers every detail. Delilah was 28 with smooth brown skin, dark hair in a neat bun, and the warmest eyes Julianne had ever seen. She spoke in a soft voice with a slight accent. Julianne couldn't quite place something vaguely Caribbean. Delilah had glowing references from 3 previous Atlanta families. "She's absolutely magical with babies," Mrs. Henderson had said. "Our son stopped having colic the day she started. It was like a miracle." Her background check came back spotless. Everything checked out perfectly. For the first 3 months, Delilah was everything Julianne had dreamed of. Lily would be fussy and crying, but the moment Delilah picked her up, the baby would calm instantly. Delilah hummed soft lullabies in a language Julianne didn't recognize, and Lily would just melt into her arms. Completely peaceful. But then Julianne's mother came to visit from Charleston in early July. Diane Foster had raised 4 children and helped with 11 grandchildren. She knew babies. And she knew people. So when she met Delilah for the first time, something deep in Diane's gut twisted with warning. She couldn't explain it, but there was something off. Something in the way she moved, too smooth and graceful. Something in her eyes that seemed ancient despite her young face. That evening, Diane pulled Julianne into the kitchen and gripped her daughter's hands tightly. "Julianne Marie, I need you to listen to me very carefully. There is something wrong with that woman." Julianne laughed nervously. "Mom, what are you talking about?" "Delilah's wonderful. A mother's instinct is never wrong, baby girl. Never. I'm begging you, watch her carefully. Pay attention. And trust your gut." Julianne dismissed the warning as maternal overprotectiveness. Her mother had always been superstitious, but after her mother left, Julianne found herself watching Delilah more closely. And once she started looking, she couldn't stop seeing things that didn't add up. Delilah never ate in front of them. Not once in 3 months. Her refrigerator in the guest suite was always empty. She never got sick, not even during that brutal August when half of Atlanta was battling a respiratory virus. She never seemed tired. Even during Lily's worst nights. And there was something about her skin always the exact same cool temperature. Like porcelain. Even on sweltering Georgia summer days. Delilah never perspired. Not a drop. But the thing that bothered Julianne most was Delilah's eyes. Sometimes, when the light hit them at certain angles, they seemed to glow faintly, reflecting light like an animal's eyes in the dark. The first impossible thing happened on a Tuesday afternoon in September. Julianne walked into the kitchen to find Delilah making Lily's bottle. The baby knocked a ceramic bowl off the tray. Julianne watched it fall in what felt like slow motion. But Delilah was across the kitchen, at least 15 feet away. There was no way she could reach it in time. Except she did. 1 second she was by the counter, and the next second her hand was under the bowl, catching it. Julianne saw Delilah move faster than any human being could possibly move. Her body blurring across the space. "Good reflexes," Delilah said lightly. But her eyes met Julianne's. And there was something knowing in that gaze. 2 weeks later, Evan came home at midnight and went to check on Lily. He saw something that made him freeze. Delilah's shadow was on the wall, but it wasn't shaped like a person. It was tall and elongated, with what looked like curved horns extending from the head. The shadow moved independently, shifting and writhing like it was alive. He flipped on the light, and there was Delilah sitting peacefully with Lily sleeping in her arms. Later in bed, his voice was shaking. "Jules, that shadow. It wasn't human. It was just the angle of the light," Julianne whispered, trying to convince herself. The worst incident happened on a night in early October when Julianne had insomnia. At 2:47 a.m., she walked past the nursery and heard singing. That same wordless melody, but with words in a language that sounded ancient and strange. She peeked through the door and felt her blood turn to ice. Delilah stood over Lily's crib with her hands extended, but her hands weren't right. The fingers were too long, stretched and twisted, with claws at the tips. They moved in strange patterns over Lily, tracing symbols in the air that glowed faintly before fading. Julian gasped. And Delilah's head snapped around impossibly fast. For just a second, Julian saw Delilah's true face reflected in the window, something with glowing eyes and sharp features that were beautiful and terrible all at once. Then Julian blinked, and Delilah looked completely normal. "Mrs. Morton? Are you all right?" Julian fled back to her bedroom and locked the door, shaking violently. She told herself she'd been dreaming, but deep down, she knew the truth. October 18, 2018. Evan had left at 5 a.m. for a business trip to Chicago. Julian woke at 5:43 a.m. to Lily crying. That was strange. Lily usually slept until at least 7. And Delilah wouldn't arrive for over an hour. But the crying stopped abruptly. And then she heard that singing. The strange language. Delilah was here. In her house. At 5:43 inches the morning, Julian crept down the hallway. Delilah stood silhouetted against the pre-dawn light, holding Lily and swaying gently. And in the window in the reflection on the glass Julian saw the truth. The woman holding her baby had elongated limbs and skin that shimmered like bronze scales. Her eyes glowed amber gold, bright as coins. And extending from her head were 2 curved horns, like a ram's, twisting up toward the ceiling. The face was still beautiful, but it was wrong too perfect, with features that seemed to shift subtly. Julian gasped, and Delilah turned around slowly. In the flesh, she looked completely normal. "Good morning, Mrs. Morton. Lily was fussy, so I came early. Give me my baby." Julian's voice came out as a hoarse whisper. "Give her to me right now." Delilah walked forward and held Lily out. The baby was sleeping peacefully, completely unharmed. Julian snatched her daughter and backed away until her back hit the wall. "What are you?" she demanded, tears streaming down her face. "What the hell are you?" Delilah's expression shifted. Something like sadness crossed her features. "You saw my reflection. I wondered when you finally would. Answer me. What are you?" Delilah sighed. "I have many names, Mrs. Morton. The Igbo people of Nigeria call us Imuo spirits who walk between worlds. The Yoruba call us Orisha. Christians call us guardian angels, though that's not quite accurate. I am ancient, far older than you can imagine. And I've been caring for human children for over 3,000 years. Julian felt her legs giving out. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor. You're a demon." "Oh God. I am not a demon." For the first time, Delilah's voice held an edge. "Demons destroy. I protect. That is my nature, my purpose. I am a guardian spirit, Mrs. Morton, and your daughter is alive and thriving because I have been watching over her. Quick question for you: have you ever felt like someone was watching over you or your family? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories." Julian sat on that nursery floor, her mind trying to process everything. Lily stirred and began to fuss. "Hungry for her morning bottle. Please," Delilah said quietly. "Let me show you something." She raised her hand and the room changed. The morning light dimmed, and suddenly Julian could see things, shadows that moved independently, dark shapes that lurked in corners, tendrils of something cold and wrong reaching toward Lily's crib. Julian screamed. "This is what I see every day," Delilah said, her voice heavy with exhaustion. "This is the reality that exists just beyond human perception. The world is full of things that want to harm children, spirits drawn to innocence and light. Babies are especially vulnerable because their souls are unmarked, unprotected. Most children survive because a mother's love provides natural protection. But sometimes, especially in modern homes where the old prayers have been forgotten, predators slip through." She lowered her hand, and the shadows disappeared. "I chose your family specifically. 8 months ago, when Lily was still in your womb, I sensed a great darkness circling this house. Something powerful and hungry. I knew she would need protection beyond what you could provide. So I created a human identity, established references, made sure you would hire me. I've been standing guard ever since, keeping the shadows at bay." "You're saying my baby is in danger?" "Was in danger. Past tense. The darkness is still out there. Still circling. But it can't reach her while I'm here. I've placed wards around this house. That's why Lily has been so healthy, so happy." Julianne looked down at her daughter. "How do I know you're telling the truth? If I wanted to harm Lily, I could have done so 100 times by now. Yet she's the healthiest baby her pediatrician has ever seen. Dr. Williams commented on it at her 6-month checkup. That's because I've been protecting her, using my abilities to shield her from illness and harm." It was true. Dr. Williams had been amazed at Lily's development. I've protected 743 children over the centuries, Delilah said softly. All of them were loved, and all of them were safe under my watch. But you lied to us. You deceived us. Because that's the only way modern humans will accept help from my kind. If I'd told you the truth during that interview, you would have called the police. So yes, I lied. But I have never once harmed Lily. I love her, Mrs. Morton. In my own way, I love her as deeply as you do. Julian felt tears streaming down her face. I'm telling you this now because the darkness is getting stronger, Delilah said gravely. It's been testing my defenses for weeks. I think it's planning to attack. And if that happens, you need to understand what I am and what I'm protecting Lily from. That evening, Julian tried to call Evan, but how could she explain over the phone that their nanny was a 3,000-year-old guardian spirit? She told him everything was fine. Around 2:30 a.m., Lily started to cry, not her usual cry, but a shriek of pure terror that made Julian's blood run cold. She ran to the nursery. What she saw made her freeze in absolute horror. The room was freezing so cold she could see her breath. Ice was forming on the windows. And in the corner, rising from the shadows, was something that should not exist. It was huge, easily 8 feet tall, with a body made of darkness that writhed and pulsed. It had too many limbs, all reaching toward Lily's crib with clawed fingers. Where its face should have been was just a gaping maw filled with needle-sharp teeth. Lily was screaming. The thing was reaching for her. Inches from her blanket. Get away from my baby. Julian shrieked. Before she could reach the crib, Delilah appeared, not walking, but materializing between Julian and the creature. And now Julian saw Delilah's true form in all its glory. She stood over 7 feet tall, her skin gleaming like polished bronze. Her eyes blazed gold, bright as the sun, and her horns curved up from her head, etched with glowing symbols. She wore flowing robes that seemed woven from light itself. You were not invited here, Delilah said, her voice resonating with power that shook the walls. This child is under my protection. Leave now, or face the consequences. The shadow thing hissed and lunged toward the crib, but Delilah was faster. She raised her hands, and light burst from her palms, brilliant, searing light that filled the room. The shadow creature screamed, a sound that made Julian's teeth ache. It began to burn, dissolving like mist. By the old laws and the ancient pacts, I banish you. Delilah's voice was thunder. You have no power here. The creature exploded into black ash that evaporated before it hit the floor. The temperature rose. The ice melted. Lily's screams faded to whimpers. Then silence. Delilah scooped Lily up, cradling her gently despite those fearsome claws. She sang softly, and Lily calmed immediately. As Julian watched, Delilah's form shimmered and shifted back to her human appearance. It's over, Delilah said quietly. She's safe now. It won't come back. Julian collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably. Thank you. She finally choked out. Thank you for saving her. If you're still with me at this point, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. It means a lot to know you're invested in this story. When Evan came home, Julian told him there had been an attempted break-in. It was the closest to the truth she could manage. The lie ate at her constantly, but how could she tell him? He'd think she'd had a breakdown. Over the following weeks, Julian and Delilah talked late at night. Will that thing come back? Julian asked. No. I destroyed it completely. Lily is safe now. How long will you stay? Until she no longer needs me. Usually until they're 7 or 8. When their inner light becomes strong enough to repel most predators. Then I'll move on to another child. And Lily will forget you. She'll remember me as her nanny. But the supernatural elements will fade like dreams fade when you wake. The children I protect rarely remember the truth of what I am. Julianne called her mother and explained everything. There was a long pause. I prayed for this, Diane finally said, her voice thick with emotion. When you were pregnant, I prayed to the old spirits my grandmother taught me about. I asked them to send a guardian. I felt the darkness around you. So I called on the old powers, and they sent Delilah. She's an answer to prayer, baby girl. It's November 2023 now, and Lily is 5.5 years old. She's bright, happy, fearless, healthy in ways that sometimes amaze Julianne. Delilah is still with them, but their time is drawing to a close. The day Delilah left was a Tuesday in June 2024. That evening, she knelt in front of Lily and took her hands. Sweet girl, I have to go away. There's another child who needs my help. Lily's face crumpled. But I need you. Oh, my darling, you don't need me anymore. You're so big and brave now. You're strong enough to protect yourself. Will you come back? Maybe someday. But even when I'm not here, I'll always be watching over you. Whenever you feel scared, You can talk to me in your heart. And I'll hear you. They hugged for a long time. Then Delilah picked up her suitcase and walked to the door. Julian followed her outside. Thank you for everything. For saving her. For loving her. Delilah's true form flickered through those golden eyes, that bronze skin. It was my honor. Your daughter has a light that will do great things. I was privileged to guard it. Will you really hear her if she calls? Always. If Lily ever truly needs me, I will know. And I will come. They embraced, and Julian felt warmth spread through her chest, a blessing, a final gift. Delilah walked down the driveway, turned back to wave, and then simply faded, like morning mist burning away in the sun. It's been over a year since Delilah left. Lily is thriving in first grade. She talks about Miss Delilah sometimes, remembering her with fondness but without any memory of the supernatural truth. Julian finally told Evan the truth 6 months ago. She expected him to think she was crazy. Instead, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I always knew there was something different about her. That shadow I saw, I never forgot it. But Lily was so safe. So happy. And deep down, I think I didn't want to know because it was too impossible to accept. You believe me? I believe that something protected our daughter when she was most vulnerable. I believe we were blessed with a guardian we didn't deserve. Julian still sees things, sometimes shadows that move wrong, presences at the edge of her vision. But she's learned something. The world is more mysterious and beautiful than she ever imagined. There are protectors walking among us, ancient beings whose only purpose is to guard the innocent. Last month, a woman in Memphis called looking for a nanny recommendation. I heard you had someone wonderful. A woman named Delilah? Julian smiled through her tears. She's moved on. But I can tell you this, if Delilah Spencer ever comes to work for you, you trust her with everything. 3 days later, the woman called back, excited. You won't believe this, but a woman named Delilah just answered my job posting. It is fate, Julian said softly. It absolutely is. And somewhere in Memphis, a little boy sleeps peacefully. Standing watch over him is a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. A woman who has protected children for 3,000 years and will protect them for 3,000 more. Because some purposes are eternal. Some bonds can never be broken. And some guardians never stop watching over the light. If this story touched you or made you think differently about the unseen world around us, I'd really appreciate if you'd hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. Your support helps me keep bringing these narratives to you. Thank you for watching. And until next time.